as business owners, we tend to underpay ourselves. If we needed to replace ourselves, we'd probably have to hire 3 different people to do that, which means that our salary should be 3 times that of an ordinary individual. But what I've got here is I've got a framework, and you might have to squint to see it, which is why I'm offering it. But what I've got is I've got a list of things that ways that we spend money in our businesses. And what I've begun with is a category called covering your butt. So what I've got is covering your butt. And under that, you can write owner's comp, which is going to be your salary. How you decide to distribute it to you is up to you because you're a business owner. But officially, this is owner's comp, but I'd like you to be thinking about it in terms of salary. Under that, we've got tax. Sales tax in Australia, that would be GST. Payroll tax, that's the percentage of your salary that goes to the government. In Australia, we have superannuation. In the US, you have 401k. For this particular percentage over here, I'll get to that. I've got 17%. I just do want to make an observation that in Australia, that might need to be as high as 22%. We pay more in tax. Then we have getting ahead. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're covering our butt, that we're getting paid and we're paying the government because we don't want to alienate the government. That's a bad move. Then we want to get ahead. We want to allocate money to grow the business, but we want to be doing it intelligently. Then we've got other people. These might be fixed expenses and overheads. And then we've also got future you. How you prioritize these is that you might want to move future you up to here if you wanted to. But usually at the beginning, it can be a little bit of a struggle, but I've made it easy for you. So owner's comp, I would say 40% is a good place to start. So if you're making 10 grand a month, that's 4 grand for you. Sales tax, 17%. Now look at this next bit. Not many people do this. In fact, I'm one of very few people that I've seen talk about your business this way, getting ahead. Now, most people would just lump these into expenses. But what I've got is that there are certain expenses that are going to help you move the dial. One of those first expenses is SaaS, software as a service. Anything that's going to improve your efficiency and help you get customers and clients faster, that's better. Indeed, I'd be even more specific here, and I would say sales and marketing SaaS. Any SaaS, software as a service, that's going to help you with your sales and marketing is a worthwhile investment. Training. As your business grows, you don't know as much as you think you know, and immediately you discover all the gaps that you don't know. There are the known knowns, there are the unknown knowns, and you're going to need to find other people to help you with that. Most people don't set aside any money or time for that. And then the third piece is I've got war chest. War chest for when an opportunity comes up and you want to be able to grab onto that particular opportunity. Other people are what's left over. And then future you, I've got profit first. I've got 1% putting aside into a separate fund that is your profit. And you can grow that 1% over time to 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, all the way up to 9%, 10%. Prepay. This is a clever little thing where you put 1% into a separate account called prepay. And prepay allows you to buy, for example, a SaaS tool at the annual rate. And that way you're immediately saving 20% overall over the course of the year. And then home pay is also 1% for you, which you could use to spend on home internet, home Netflix, if that's what you want to spend it on. But it's best to get the money out of your business to spend money on home expenses, because then that becomes pre-tax income. Cool. Now, if we were to look at this as a business, we could look at it in 2 different ways. The money comes in, and the money comes in at, say, $1,500 with a client. We would immediately allocate 600 of that to owner's comp. And of course, the easiest way to do this is have multiple bank accounts. $255 of that would be set aside for tax payroll. Then we'd have SaaS, $75. Training, $75. War chest, $75. Fixed expenses and overheads, $375. This is the amount that you have left over to spend on all the other things that you need to spend on, which will become dramatically less if this is further down the path. You'll stop spending money on that swanky office that you don't need, because you'll suddenly realize that is less of a priority than spending on SaaS, training, and your war chest. Look at this profit first thing. $15 into profit first, $15 into prepay, $15 into home pay. Doesn't sound like much, does it? Indeed, if you can't set aside 1% of your revenue into some sort of profit account, you're really in a really, really challenging place. As we move across the board, we can see 3,000, 3,000, 2,500, we come up to 10,000. Now, what's interesting about this is that suddenly we get to see 4,000 as the take home. We've got the other expenses. $500 a month, say, on SaaS, easy. $500 on training, easy. 2,500 on other fixed expenses, easy. And then you end up with $100 to spend on home internet, $100 to set aside for your annual Vimeo account, $100 set aside for the end of the month, where you can take your partner on a swanky date, have a lovely time. But the thing I want to point out about this is that a lot of people, as I said right from the beginning, when I talked about times 10, they might be doing $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $8,000 a month, $6,000 a month, $12,000 a month, $14,000 a month. And they're just saying, I just need a consistent 10K a month, or I just need a consistent 15K a month. In this particular scenario, which is kind of realistic, where the take home is $4,000, if you are a business working 40 hours a week, that works out to be 160 hours per week. Divide 4,000 by 160 hours, you're only earning $25 an hour. If you're only earning $25 an hour, you should probably go get a job in McDonald's. The perks are better. And I say that because the minimum wage in Australia for an adult is $25. I know it's different in other places. So if that's the case, we can't just say, oh yeah, I'm going to aspire to 10K. What we probably want to do is we want to start to increase the order value of our clients, which is something that will happen if you start to think about times 10. The number of options available to you will get smaller. Then if you go from, okay, I'm going to increase the value of the clients, you start to think, you know what, now I'm going to start to productize what it is that I'm going to do with an emphasis on MRR. Your monthly revenue might go from $3,000 to $6,000 to $9,000 to $12,000, or weekly revenue, because what we're doing is we're growing on the last amount of money because it's monthly recurring revenue. And then suddenly we get to a place which is like 30,000 and beyond. And then suddenly we can start to take a decent salary. So those guys and gals were our mindset levers. They were, are you ready? They were vision first. They were product first. They were profit first. My question for you is, which one of these is most important for you? And which one of these is most likely to move the dial? If you can leave a comment, I will send you the worksheets.